All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music and I guess breaking news. Yeah, breaking news in this one, and doing it in real time for a few real people out there just like you, just like me. So, this involves a great Canadian band. So, it's appropriate to feature another great Canadian artist, Colin James, Chasing the Sun. This is my album of the week since, why not? Blues and rock, you won't hear it on rock stations. It's just a shame. But here we are in the year 2024, 30 years removed from when all rock music was welcome on terrestrial radio. Think about that. All right. Now it's like drum machines and Pro Tools, and this is old school. So, again, it's blues and rock, and blues doesn't really belong on today's mainstream rock radio. So another great Canadian band, the Guess Who, by the way, are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The hits just keep coming, right? So you can't get any good music on rock stations today, and the Guess Who aren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But founding singer Burton Cummings and guitar wizard Randy Bachman have settled their lawsuit. Now, this is huge news. This is huge breaking bombshell, precedent setting news. And they've done this with former members Jim Cale and Gary Peterson. And they've acquired the trademark back to their former band. In other words, Burton and Randy now own the trademark to the Guess Who. That's just awesome. And this, of course, ends a bitter dispute over the legacy of Canada's most famed rock and roll bands. Again, they're not in the rock and they say it in the article. They're one of the great rock bands of all time, and they're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Just that's depressing to me. The settlement comes nearly a year after Cummings and Bachman sued Cale and Peterson and this band, which they called a cover band, over false advertising. Cummings and Bachman alleged in their lawsuit that the band had used recordings that Bachman and Cummings wrote and performed to give the false impression that the plaintiffs are performing as part of the cover band, which is, again, false. They weren't there. So this, by the way, has become a regular practice with bands using imagery from, the original band, and it gets people interested, and they're like, yeah, I can't wait to see those guys. I didn't know they were still around. It's been a very stressful period. But Burton Cummings says he's relieved that it's now behind them and confident that he can come back to the States with his band and play all the songs. He says there's been a fake band out there for a long time using the real records to promote their shows, and it handcuffed me in many ways. We're trying to preserve the history and the legacy of the original Guess Who for our fans all over who have followed the real band and the real songs. All right. It goes on to say Bachman and Cummings declined to give details about the settlement. Beyond confirming that they have the trademark, Cummings says he, Bachman, and Peterson spent many hours in mediation in Los Angeles to reach the agreement. He says it was an impossible task, and suddenly the impossible became possible, according to Randy Bachman. We fulfilled our dream of writing hit songs and performing them, then to have it all kind of fall apart. To be able to come back as partners and shut down the bad reputation being formed by the false advertising and fraudulent band is really great. And I look forward to what's ahead. So what these guys did, though, that was groundbreaking, was they actually shut down the performance part of the music. In other words, they own the publishing. So they terminated the performing rights of these songs. And so this cover band, or fake band, as they like to call it, couldn't go out there and perform anymore. And they literally canceled the rest of their gigs after they did this. In doing so, Cummings gave up any royalties he'd make from public performances at concerts, but also from radio airplay and placements in films and TV shows. So if you were playing the Guess Who anywhere recently, I wonder if Donald Trump had played the Guess Who, if he probably wouldn't have gotten in any trouble because there was nothing to terminate at that point. Although they probably would have found a way, right? But they gave up any royalties from radio airplay, placements in films and TV shows. It cost a lot of money, I'm sure, for these guys who should get money every time one of their songs gets played. And they're great songs, by the way. So it forced the other band to cancel the gigs. They say it was painful, but we'd have done it indefinitely just to stop that fake band from taking over our history, says Burton Cummings. They took over streaming sites. They were using old photos of me and Randy. It gets me really upset thinking about it, but thank goodness it's over. It's a painful success. It cost a lot of money with lawyers, and I gave up a lot of publishing, but we finally won this terrible battle. Wow. So these guys also plan on going out there and performing as the Guess Who again. So that is amazing news if you're a fan of Randy and Burton. I'm a huge fan of this band. What about the old band? Well, basically, they have to change into something else. They have to morph into some other entity. And they can't play, obviously, any of, I guess they could probably play Guess Who music as some other band. But they're not the Guess Who anymore. So that's amazing news. And, this obviously opens up things for other bands who the original members have seen others take over their trademark and the merchandising and the advertising and using their likeness or image, trying to promote concerts. There's one band in particular who I'm not going to mention in this video, but their initials are LRB, okay? And that would be the first on the list. And in fact, Randy Bachman talked about LRB in one of the articles that was published, I believe, last year about this situation, and said, here's another band where, again, these other people have pretty much taken it over and nobody knows who the original guys are. And I'd have to say, those guys have even lower visibility. They're even less recognizable than Randy and Burton. Those two names are kind of household names, especially in Canada and to a certain degree here in the United States and around the world. So it could open up a door if somebody wants to take the time to go through it. But again, if you've got songs on the radio and you're doing well because those songs are being played on the radio, that is a lot to give up in order to stop the cover band from continuing on with the trademark. So I think it'll be more difficult for other bands to do this. But now that a precedent has set, there's a legal precedent for this. So you can use this in court. And my guess is there may be some victories ahead for those who want to reclaim their history. All right, folks, one more time for Colin James as we celebrate Canada in this video. Oh, Canada. This is just a great album, blues and rock combined. It should be on the radio. There should be some kind of a support system for this. I say it over and over again. I'm beating a dead horse. Nobody cares. So I will just stop. So go stream it somewhere. Colin James, just look it up on Spotify. Go listen to it that way. You won't hear it on the radio. Why do I care so much? Because radio used to be a really cool thing, and now it's a joke. So I'm just reminiscing for the good old days. But we won one here. The Guess Who. This is just great news. God bless the Guess Who and you Canadian fans up there. Have yourself a Molson, eh? Have a couple of Molsons for the Guess Who.